All right, this is our new political podcast, Conversations with Rob. We have Anna Eskamani from District 47 here with us. Anna, thanks so much.
It's an
Now,
honor.
you've done a lot in your life. You've been an adjunct professor, 2 master's degrees, 2 bachelor's degrees. I've worked for Planned Parenthood. I feel like you've got way more experience to work for us, but also to help working people than
Thank you.
our president. Just
Well,
to be honest.
It's true. Yeah.
I know we're not a fan of
not
him,
gonna
but
debate that.
yeah. So anyway, we'll move on. We'll start talking about your campaign. So, what got you into politics, and how did you form that political philosophy of being a Democrat and also a strong progressive?
Yeah, that's a great question, Rob. So my political identity is very much grounded in my childhood. You know, I grew up as a working class daughter of immigrants. Tough comes from struggle, and my family knew struggle. And we went to Orange County Public Schools, K through 12, and we're doing our part to achieve the American dream when 15 years ago, my mom died from cancer. And losing her set a stage where, you know, we would have to navigate life without a mom. And I realized quickly that this society isn't fair for everyone, and that we don't have an even playing field. And I made the decision to honor my mom's life, the act of empowering others, and I've been an advocate ever since. Really finding my roots in organizing when I was at the University of Central Florida. And to your point of becoming a Democrat, you know, I actually was first registered no party affiliation when I was registered in high school. My parents were both Democrats, but I didn't want to just subscribe to that because my parents were. I wanted to figure it out on my own. And it was the summer of 2010 where only 2 groups were tabling at UCF that time. It was the Iranian Student Organization, which I was an officer of, and we were collecting human rights petitions, and the College Democrats at UCF. And I met the College Democrats, was inspired what they were doing. They were registering students to vote. They were talking about issues that were really important to everyday working families. And that summer, I registered blue, became a Democrat, and I've been a Democrat ever since.
So, you know, traveling after that identity, but also living in this area for quite a while now,
my
going
whole
to
life.
high school at University High School.
That's right.
You know, and then UCF, all these degrees, like I said, amazing. So after that, what made you working for Planned Parenthood? And I know you've had all those causes, working with the Planned Parenthood, but what made you run in District 47? What was that kind of pivotal moment that just came to you that said, hey, you know, I should run for this?
Yeah.
And this has been a Republican district for a while.
It has been, yeah.
Which you flipped, 57 to 43.
We
Congrats.
did. Thank you. I mean, I grew up in this town, like you said. This is my hometown, and I live in District 47. I've lived in the district for about 4 years now. I grew up in East Orlando, but moved to this part of the community, you know, about 3-4 years ago. And so, my decision to run for office was not an easy one. I mean, I never thought I would run for office. I was set being an advocate. I felt good where I was, working at Planned Parenthood, pursuing my doctorate, saving money. Like I was content as a 20-year-old in pursuing a wholehearted life. But when President Trump won, that changed everything for me. And I realized that if we wanted to build a representative democracy, we had to do it ourselves. And that, coupled with my love for my hometown, Orlando, is what propelled me to make the decision to run for office.
That's great. So let's talk about the campaign.
Okay.
So, you know, as a Democrat, and in a Republican district that you flipped, you know, you're going against Republican Stockton Reeves.
The sixth.
It was funny. I was just driving up here on the highway and I saw one of his signs.
Oh man, it's still out.
A little weird that it's still up there, but hey,
news.
It's a little strange. But anyway,
it's funny.
Moving back to that, you know, through the primary, you ran against a fake primary opponent.
Yes, I did.
For a month or two.
Everything they could throw at us, they did. Everything.
After that, the Republicans, also even before that, there was a Republican that was in office already, said that you were worse than you was worse nightmare. You were worse than Carlos Guillermo Smith, who you're friendly with. But talk about that. Then they started putting all these ads describing you as Antifa. You had the hammer and all this jazz. They were saying that you know, you were swearing and saying all these stuff. So I mean, describe that. I mean, it seems like they were pulling all the stops against you.
Sure.
And how did that? How did you face that? And you know, winning with such a large margin. How'd you do it?
It's a great question. Yeah, they tried everything to stop our community from having a voice in this process. It really is a test of resilience, Rob. Like, you have to be so centered on knowing who you are and knowing who you're fighting for, because we never shied away. I mean, every attack that they threw at us, we crumbled it up and we threw it back. I mean, on the fake candidate, we fought a lawsuit. On all the negative mail and TV ads, we called it out, and we dragged our opponent by calling him out specifically. It wasn't just, pretending like it was some invisible enemy. It was like, no, these are being paid for by these individuals, and this is why we're so authentic, because we know that at the end of the day, we're doing our job right when the opposition is spending so much money and time against us. They know that we are a threat to their status quo, and that's a good thing. So I just grounded ourselves and knowing that what we were doing was right. And then again, we raised a lot of money on this campaign. That helped us communicate to others who we were, and to help tell our story before someone else tried telling it for us.
A lot of key endorsements too, Buddy
100%.
Dyer.
We had more than 80 endorsements from individual organizations. President Obama. And then at the end of the day, though, the biggest part of our campaign was knocking on doors. We knocked on 50,000 doors in this district. So we heard and felt the heart and soul of District 47. And our constituents knew who cared about them. And I think that was the most compelling piece that got us the victory line.
So let's talk more about that. You talked about knocking on 50,000 doors.
Yeah.
Your campaign had mostly college students from Rollins, UCF. Even had some high school students in there. How did you get those students energized? even to not only to volunteer but to vote.
Yeah.
If they weren't enthusiastic, we see a lot of like students or even people our age in their 20s, late 20s that see what's going on in this country, see President Trump, see how the Democrats are, and they just are not energized. We saw 2016 with Bernie and Hillary. A lot of Bernie supporters were upset about and not vote. Yeah. So how did you get these high school and college students out to volunteer and vote for you?
So our campaign, I will say, Rob, it was intergenerational, and our movement is intergenerational. I mean, we had folks of all ages and backgrounds who had our back from day one. But to your point, the grunt work, the day-to-day, the leadership was really led by young people. I think it was twofold for us. One is being a young person myself.
Sure.
There's a connection there.
Right, of course.
I think when young folks see us not just talking about issues, but walking the talk, and then using social media to really build relationships with folks and invite others to join you in action, inspires folks to really feel committed to you. But the other piece is that we never tokenize young people. Like, we build leaders. And so we were invited to so many high school organizations, college spaces, even environments where maybe it's just 3 to 4 students, not necessarily a large crowd, but we don't say no to those invitations, because I believe firmly that good leaders train new leaders. Sure. And this is the next generation. So we're very intentional in making time and giving young people the attention they deserve and the tutoring and mentoring they need to grow, because I'm already thinking about who my replacement will be in Tallahassee. And again, that's my responsibility to this community, to make sure that we're building the new generation of young leaders who are empathetic, who are passionate, know how to communicate ideas, and are ready to work for it.
So let's talk more about that. Now, you said about your replacement. Now, you're up for re-election in 2020 with those 2-year terms here in Tallahassee.
Yep.
Can you take as a positive from the 2018 campaign, and what are also the things that you've done that you say, hey, let's not do that again next time we're going to run?
That's a good question. I hate the role that money plays in politics. That was always one of my biggest stresses, was raising money. And we raised more than $500,000 from 4,000 individual donations. So we did it. We were one of the best fundraisers in the state, but it was exhausting, to have the constant stress of raising money and to have that, need to be a part of our work. Ironically enough, looking at our next campaign cycle, what I would advise myself is I need to be really structured in my fundraising. Even though we did it well, I want to be really intentional in spending more time for it. And so that's one thing that comes to my mind. And then beyond that, though, I think we continue on the same movement that we built on, and a part of that means never, continuing on this effort to never be transactional. We don't operate transactional anything in this team. I like to practice transformational politics, which means that we go with that expectation, hoping that by living through our actions, it inspires you to join us. And to that point, looking at our next campaign cycle, I hate how so many candidates in the past, they knock on your door and they say, if you just vote, we'll stop knocking, we'll stop calling. Right. And our philosophy is, oh, no, like, we're gonna, like, we don't care if you vote for us or not. Like, we want you to know we're here and that we care about you. And as an example, we actually went caroling during the holidays in the district, and we just knocked on doors, and I said, hi, I'm your sales representative. Could we sing you a song? And it was a great way to just, continue the dialogue with our community. And before session starts, I know we want to knock on doors with a newsletter, and even during session, come back on weekends, knock on doors, let folks know how we're doing in session, what's on the docket. So the conversation continues beyond just the election cycle.
All right. So this is as being an Iranian American, we see President Trump targeting people with disabilities, minorities, pretty much shooting from the mountaintops to white supremacists all over this state and all over the country. Yeah. As a woman of Iranian heritage, how did that make you feel during the campaign? And also, my second question to that was, did you feel targeted? You with all these Trump supporters. We know there's a lot down here in the state of Florida. There's plenty to go around.
Lots of red hats.
You ain't kidding. Did anybody that believed in his ideology target you during the campaign?
Yeah. So there was an effort by the Republican Party of Florida to potentially target us on our Iranian identity. There actually was a push-pull in the district, and one of the questions was, would you vote for Anna Eskamani if you knew that she had close ties to the Islamic Republic of Iran, the largest, XYZ of terrorism? So they did this poll test. Obviously, it didn't go well because they never used it. Right. But you could tell that they were potentially going to try something about my Iranian identity. I'm proud to be an Iranian American. I've embraced that part of my identity since I was a child. And when we knocked on doors and talked to voters, we really focused on the issues. We didn't go too much into parts of our identity. But when we won, there was the headlines, and there was the excitement around electing the first Iranian American to any public office in Florida. Sure. And I feel like that's such an incredible responsibility for me to set the stage for other women and young people like me to enter politics as well, as their authentic selves. So it doesn't matter, in my case, I'm a working class Iranian American who grew up in Orlando. Those are part of my identities. I'm a hetero. I'm an accomplice. The LGBTQ plus community. Those are part of my identities. But I encourage everyone, no matter what your identities are, be authentic about it. Right. And I think that will be embraced and celebrated.
Right. So now we're going to move into Florida issues. Okay?
All right, let's do it.
As being a progressive, we got, what can we get as progressives? Me too. Mm-hmm. What support can we get? What issues can we get passed? And you obviously being an officer in the House, what can you get passed as progressive legislation with Republicans everywhere?
And Rob, you said, I can tell with your giggling. It's a good question.
What's true is true.
It's a good question. So the reality is that for this legislative session, I think a lot of it will be defense. It's going to be protecting our immigrants, it's going to be protecting access to safe legal abortion, going to be protecting the environment, making sure that we fight for good paying jobs and stop with corporate handouts. So a lot of it's going to be, protecting some of the rights that we have now and fighting for more. I tell you, there are some really great conversations of bills that will be filed that are designed to protect immigrants, especially our young immigrants, our dreamers and TPS recipients. There's been conversations around ban of fracking, which the governor, who is Republican, has said that he will support. So it's also kind of diving into the gray, right? And being willing to go into the nuance of policy to find small wins where we can get them, but also not be afraid to call out the absurdity when it happens too. And it's not just policy that's always the main focus. It's also about culture change. And I've been a big leader of that because I think there's so much just wrong with the culture of Tallahassee that allows ballot legislation to get sponsored and supported, that if we can also lead on this front of culture change, like you don't have to go to lobbyist events. You don't have to cater towards these interest groups. Like you can lead by example and create an environment where special interests they exist in the building, and you can meet with them, but it doesn't mean you have to walk in every door they open.
And thanks for not doing that. I know
it's an honor.
That first lobbyist dinner for all the new Congress people, not Congress people, but House members. You didn't go, so thank you for doing that. I appreciate you not doing that, because we see that, as you said, all these people that go into, whether it's the House in
and you
Florida.
Gotta set a culture change, Rob. And it was so funny because when I first got the invitation, I was very, like, I didn't say anything. I emailed back and I just said, thank you for inviting me, but I didn't decline or accept.
Sure.
And the response back was, we can't wait to see you, Rep. Which again is this culture of the assumption is that you're going to go. And that leaks into every part of the process. The assumption is that I'll get what I want, as a special interest. And so, like, that's not how we operate. We want to challenge that. And so as a progressive Democrat, I'm very inclusive and the fact that everyone can meet with us, but I also try to be incredibly transparent about it. And even when Florida Power and Light and U.S. Sugar met with me, I tweeted out to let our constituents know, like, hey, this is happening. If you have questions, let me know. So trying to redefine, what good governance is too.
Right. So as we're talking about issues, and you brought up the environment about a minute ago, Governor DeSantis just did said that he was gonna spend $2.6 billion to clean up the Everglades and all the blue-green algae that we heard throughout the 2018 campaign. Do you believe that the governor is really going to do this? Is he talking the talk, or is he going to walk the walk? What's he going to do?
It's a great question. So Governor DeSantis was clear about his concerns with sugar on the campaign trail, especially on the subsidies point. So it's very interesting because I think the motivation of DeSantis as a candidate was also grounded in the fact that sugar industry was very much behind Adam Putnam. Right. So it was almost easy for the governor to say, I don't support sugar, because they never supported him. Right. And so, but to that point though, his strong stance against sugar gave him flexibility to challenge this industry. And so I'm hopeful that it is sincere. $2.5 billion is a necessary investment, and as legislators we have to try to find where that money comes from. And he also brought on, through executive order, he said he'll bring on a chief science officer. Now I did notice during one of the press conferences, Governor Ron DeSantis would not commit to the fact that climate change is man-made.
Right. Yes.
He's asked for next question, so we have to so again, it's about building bridges where we can and holding you accountable when we must. And so you can't do both at the same time. So I celebrate these incredible steps in the right direction, but also continue to ask for more because we deserve more.
Well, the question is, if he does that, that's great, of course. But if he gets the money from education or somewhere else, then it's like one place is great, and then the other place falls apart even more.
Totally.
And taking money out of education, which is already a disaster.
And during his inaugural remarks, I mean, there were some pretty problematic comments about immigrants, and so we have to.
The Trump playbook.
100%. It was Trump talking point. So again, like, I'm cautiously optimistic that we can find common ground. And I will celebrate those moments, but it doesn't mean we don't continue to hold people accountable for areas where people are going to struggle. And to your point, it's counterproductive, because you improve one part, you don't want to let others slip behind.
Right. Well, as we said, the education system's already in
teachers are underpaid. School safety is a priority, and yet we didn't provide funding for meaningful school safety either. Instead, we want to arm our teachers, which majority of school districts don't even want to do. So yeah, I mean, education as a good example, healthcare as another example. We've never expanded Medicaid in this state, and so Floridians still struggle to access the care they need and deserve. And so that's going to be another hot topic this legislative session. So
a quick thing on something that you did yesterday. You had that big town hall.
We did.
About the arts yesterday.
We did.
Also with Carlos Guillermo Smith. All right. With both of you guys talking about that, and we've seen a lot of movies and where they used to come down to Florida, TV shows, they used to come down to Florida. How can we, and they're all going to Georgia now.
They are.
Yeah, they're all going to our neighbor up north.
They are.
How can we bring them back to the state of Florida? Besides tax incentives, obviously we can do that. And I know they talk about Visit Florida and all that stuff with that and tourism. But how can we bring these people back? Because that's jobs, that's people that'll move here, families.
Totally.
All good for the economy.
Totally.
How can we do that and bring these people back besides tax incentives?
So there's so many pockets you kind of just touched on, right? I mean, you have arts and culture funding, you have tourism, and you have film incentives. And so, and each one deserves our attention.
Sure.
To the point of arts funding first, I mean, that is an area that is such a priority for our district, and a huge economic game changer. I mean, if we fully fund the 600 odd nonprofits who applied and approved for funding via the Division of Cultural Affairs, we're talking about $61 million in grant funding. It would leverage nearly $1 billion of local activity across the state. Sure. I mean, it's a big deal, and it is a job creator, but it also intersects parts of our lives, whether it's entertainment, healing, education. And so it's one reason why we had this town hall last night that attracted close to 300 people and really focused on the impact to organizations and you know, ring that bell on an emergency, because we slashed the culture and arts funding year by year, and right now it's at 2.6 million, a 90% decrease from last fiscal year. So that's one of our priorities, and I think that would be such a game changer in long-lasting job creation.
But can we get sorry to interrupt you.
You're good.
Can we get bipartisan support for this up in Tallahassee?
I think we can. You know, it's funny when Carlos and I put together this town hall, we attracted a lot of attention, and there were folks in Tallahassee from the arts community of all parts of the state who want to visit with our office to share their support and their interest and their concern. And I've heard from many colleagues of Republican legislators who also support arts funding, and even saw on Twitter, Senator Keith Perry from Alachua County tweet about arts funding, totally unrelated to what we were doing, on his own.
Right.
So I am excited for the potential of this, and had a great meeting with our new Secretary of State, Mike Hertel, who's a Republican, and it's his department that manages the Division of Cultural Affairs. So I'm hopeful, but it's about engaging the grassroots support on this level. And to the point of tourism and film incentives, you know, I think the Visit Florida and the tourism community can play a role in advocating for arts and film, because it does impact their bottom line too, and it brings in money for them. At the point of film incentives, honestly, I think film incentives are probably going to be the most challenging, because of the culture around incentives. Like, unfortunately, past leadership has really demonized the word incentive just for film. I mean, it's so funny because, you know, other corporations still get tax breaks, but for film, we're not giving them the flexibility. And I'm an advocate that we need film jobs back in Florida. So, you know, I've been working with our allies in that world to see what we can do to bring film jobs back. And, you know, that does tie into the arts funding, but at the same time, it's a separate entity that needs our love and support.
All right, great answer. So as being in District 47, we know what happened in 2016 with the Pulse nightclub shooting.
Yes.
And that happened. Now, we've heard, and of course, the governor won't agree with this, but we know mental health funding needs to be done.
Yeah.
We also, you know, need to get the guns off the street, but we're not going to get, you know, anything done with the NRA.
Fortunately, and there's already, well, you know, Rob, there's already legislation on campus carry that's been filed.
Right. And that happened before, didn't that? And they defeated
many times. Yes, you got it. So it's back. And then at the same time, too, Nikki Fried, I'm excited for, because I do think with her office, at least there'll be some more oversight and regulation on concealed weapons permits. But you're right, on the legislative front, we get a fight on our hands, and really excited to co-sponsor some really proactive gun safety legislation. And right now we're working on a bill that will focus on domestic violence perpetrators and their access to firearms. And so the fight continues, but it's going to be an uphill battle.
All right. So we're going to move on to one more question that deals with this district, and that's SunRail.
SunRail, let's talk about it.
So we know that SunRail is a big part of the area down there, and they've built quite a few SunRail stations in the past couple of years. I think they built one going toward Kissimmee too.
Yep. Yeah, we go from, should be from Volusia through Orange down to Osceola.
Right. how can we get more people to ride SunRail? That's the big question that we all trying to figure the answer out.
Great question.
And also to deal with the environment too, not just SunRail, but bicycle lanes, to get people out walking. Like you see all these other big cities like New York City.
I know,
with,
transit,
big
all about
transit
it.
and stuff, but Florida's behind.
You know, it's funny, Rob. One of the activities we did on the campaign trail was a public transit adventure. And so I rode public transportation from Orlando to Winter Park and back and carried that story through social media to tell our viewers that we not only care about public transit, we want to identify the strong parts and the weak parts of it. And during that journey, I mean, it was tough. We missed our first bus stop, so we had to walk to Link Central Station, which was another mile in the hot sun. And then we missed SunRail. It was so funny because we were fumbling to get our tickets because it's not easy. You know, there's no app. There's no you have to buy a ticket. So SunRail literally came and left, and we hopped in a bus. And so, you know, it helped us tell the story of last mile, first mile struggles too. When you get off the bus or the train, what do you do after that? So for us, Central Florida is so well equipped to be more pedestrian friendly, and the city of Orlando has really prioritized that as part of their strategic plan. And I had a meeting with the Florida Department of Transportation this morning too, and they're very much engaged in our work to be more pedestrian friendly. But on SunRail, we need to get more funding for SunRail because it needs to be open on weekends and weeknights. And that's not going to happen until we can pay for it. And I feel it would pay for itself if we get that actually open. But there's such a hesitation to make that step. And at the end of the day, there's also a culture change that needs to take place. But SunRail, the way it's scheduled now, is really not accessible for working folks.
Well, President Obama was going to give all this money for high-speed rail to Governor Scott, and he said no thank you.
Yeah, we turned it away.
So,
and there was a really compelling article, I think by Tampa Bay Times, about the political reasons of why Rick Scott made that decision, and that he might have financial interest in Brightline, which is the private industry, now our private company is building, you know, the train from the commuter rail from Tampa to Orlando. So unfortunately, the politics is in all this. I mean, he rejected it also because it was coming from the Obama administration.
That's what happens when we put crooks in office.
Not disagreeing with that. Not disagreeing with that. Yeah.
Okay.
There are a lot of folks who should be in jail right now. So
that's true.
Commit to that.
So Anna, let's just move on our last segment about Florida politics. The Florida Democratic Party.
Yeah.
We've seen some good things and some bad things. So 2018, everybody hates Trump.
Yeah.
We had a great governor candidate who I voted for, you know, in the primary and also in the general.
Yeah.
I met him quite a few times. Great man, I believe, Andrew Gillum. I still think that hopefully Senate or governor again.
Absolutely.
But, you know, we had a good candidate, Bill Nelson, who they thought Gillum was going to carry him over the line.
Yeah.
He got more votes than Andrew Gillum, and he might have got screwed out of his race because of the signatures.
Yeah. Or the ballot design in Broward.
The ballot design in Broward, correct.
Yeah.
You know, and then we're losing 3 Supreme Court seats.
We are.
You know, how does the Florida Democratic Party regroup? I mean, Nikki Fried won, that's great.
Yeah.
But how do they regroup?
Yeah, it's kind of like getting out of the woods a little bit. You know, we did better than we have in the past, especially for a midterm. You know, interesting enough, though, the biggest wins for the Democratic Party were House seats. And so I think that speaks to the power of local campaigning. And there were quite a few House seats, Rob, that if we just had some more money for, they probably could have flipped their seats too. So I filled out the feedback survey to the Democratic Party, and I put my name down because I want to help in this process.
Right.
But you really have to organize 24/7, and you have to talk to the needs of your community. And you can only do that with a local campaign. If you're focusing all the money resources on statewide races, you can only do so much to actually talk to everyday Floridians. So if we invest more in local races, I really do feel that at that level you can inspire someone to come out to vote, and it's less about top down and more about down up, where when someone looks for my name on the ballot, they're gonna circle Democrat on the way down as they're looking for my name. So, and at the same time too, I think the Democratic Party, you know, struggles with tokenization. We tend to tokenize people of color versus lift them up in leadership roles. And at the same time, candidate recruitment is so critical, and that needs to start now. We need to actively identify these new leaders and build them up and prepare them and train folks on how to fundraise. I mean, I saw a headline the other day. I didn't have a chance to read the article, but it said RPUF raised $6 million to Democratic Party $1 million. And again, I haven't looked at the articles, so don't dive too deep into my quote. Okay. But that ratio of 1 to 6 is bad. It's bad. Yeah. And granted, you know, the Republican Party of Florida also accepts money from a lot of groups that we should never accept money from. Mm-hmm. But why aren't we utilizing and leveraging grassroots donors? Right. I mean, that was our campaign. We raised our funds through 4,000 individual donations. So it's possible, but to do that, you have to set some value statements. Right. And I don't think our party has really done that clearly yet.
Well, that leads me to the next question. Orange County was a huge bright spot for the whole state in 2018. You got 57. Geraldine Thompson took back that House seat with 44. 51. Gillum got 62. Nelson got 62. I mean, you know, we look at Orange County, and why are progressives winning in Orange County minus not winning in pretty much the rest of the state besides those certain areas in South Florida?
Yeah, well, even Seminole County has shifted a little bit blue too.
Right, it's true.
And again, I think it's about local leadership. I mean, I really think it's grounded in candidates talking the talk and walking the walk and really getting to know their districts. There's also the demographic change a part of this conversation. I mean, the reality is for Orange County, we have more young families, grads from UCF. I mean, more people are calling this community home who lean in our direction, but you can't take that for granted. You can't base, election results purely on what you see in data sheets. Like, you have to talk to your community and really feel your community. And I know there are many Republicans who voted for us. There were many NPAs who voted for us. And that's because we always present as our authentic selves, and we also showed up. I mean, I walked into Republican spaces all the time. We were invited to the Libertarian meeting. We were invited to law firms that lean right. I mean, and we just showed up, and we were ourselves. And I don't know if every Democrat in our state is doing that to the extent that needs to be done. To Andrew Gillum's credit, he did go to many parts of the state that barely see Democratic candidates. And I would encourage anyone who runs statewide to keep doing that, because you need to energize your voters, our voters across the state, but don't lose sight of the investment to those local candidates who could really not only benefit from a larger statewide race providing support, but also need the financial backing so they can print their own resources, they can knock on their own doors and lift everyone up.
Well, you went on during the recount phase, you were on the news with Carlos, you guys were talking about the ballot design. And you kind of brought that up a little bit. With the signature problem with the absentee ballots. And I know they had the big, and all the counties, Orange County, all over, were trying to get those ballots validated with the signatures, which is a total joke, because if you look at what if somebody's disabled or somebody has Parkinson's and their handshakes, we're having people look at signatures that they're no handwriting experts, they're just regular people.
Totally.
You know, but my thing is, you guys went on TV, we saw the problems in Broward, we saw Bay County with those 150 ballots that were being faxed and emailed in.
Unilaterally decided by the SOE.
Sounds like 2000 all over again.
Yeah, it's a mess.
But my thing is you guys were talking about all those things. Would you guys put up a bill to try to fix the ballot design for a universal ballot design, and also figure out the signature? I was just going to say crap. The signature. I still said it.
The other one I'll add to that list is a postmark and allowing ballots to be counted as long as they're postmarked
with
on
the
bombs
day. With Trump, the guy that sent the bombs,
delayed.
That was
they were delayed.
Miami-Dade.
Yeah, they were delayed. So the answer to that is yes. There actually is a Democratic caucus working group, election reform, led by Geraldine Thompson. And I'm sure the Republican Party has their own vision for election reform. Right. And I hope this is going to be a nonpartisan issue, because I think everyone's tired of Florida being in the headlines for not counting votes correctly.
That the guy, Mike, is that his name?
Mike Ertel.
Yeah.
And Mike Ertel
is fairly middle of the road.
He is. And Mike actually knows elections. He was the Seminole County Supervisor of Elections. Ken Denser had no background in this. And so I think that's what's exciting about Mike Ertel, is that he really comes in with an operational lens. Like, he wants elections to work. So it will be. I think we'll be good hands with Mike
Last
Patel
part
in
of
that
the
role.
interview. Quick answers.
Okay.
Do you think, and these might be some tough questions, but I'm going to give it to you.
Okay, I'll try.
Did Andrew Gillum lose because of his race? Yes or no?
Oh wow.
Sorry, this is a little bit tough. You
Yeah,
can say
I mean, I would
undecided.
probably say yes. Like, I think there's a lot of racist people out there. I'm sorry,
Right.
Florida.
I agree.
I mean, it's true. I want to be clear. That's not the only reason why.
I agree,
mean, there's so many other factors there. But, I mean, at the end of the day, I think there are Floridians out there who just can't fathom a person of color in leadership.
I believe, and this is my next question, I believe Bill Nelson won that race because of the ballot design in Florida. Also, those absentee ballots with the signature. Do you agree with that? That he could have won.
Yes, I think if the Broward County ballots, which by the way were approved by Democrats and Republicans, I mean we all can hold blame for this. If those ballots did not include Bill Nelson's race underneath the instructions, yes, I think it would have been a lot better.
All right, what's your favorite color?
It's blue.
All right, nice. Me too. Favorite movie?
Star Wars Episode 4: A New Hope.
All right. Hey, whatever works. Favorite TV show?
Oh my gosh, I don't watch a lot of TV these days.
Come on, give me something.
I mean, I watched a lot of Simpsons when I was a kid. Okay. 90s classic.
Fair enough. Favorite politician?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's a good question. So many. I would probably say President Barack Obama.
All right, fair enough. Music or musician?
The Beatles is my biggest loves forever and ever.
Who do you look up to the most?
My twin sister, Ida.
Awesome. And this is the toughest question I think I'm going to give to you in the last question.
Wow.
Who will the Democrats put up in 2020 for President of the United States?
Oh wow! I don't know. Honestly, I'm feeling.
Give me a couple names.
I mean, I'm feeling a lot of good vibes. Elizabeth Warren, good vibes.
Okay.
Castro. I love the fact that he did his kickoff in English and Spanish, and I just think his story is so beautiful. And he's a twin. So
One more name.
Well, I think Kamala Harris is going to do it.
All right,
I think
so
that would be cool. Yeah.
Fair enough. And that's all I got. Hey, I appreciate you, Anna.
Thank you, Rob. It was great to share space. And yeah, excited to tell the story. And if folks ever need us, they can find us.
What's the website and where can people find you on Twitter and Facebook?
So we're on it for Florida on Twitter and Instagram, on it for Florida. Then you can always follow us on Facebook, Representative Anna V. Eskamani.
All right. And thanks again, Anna.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.